Hello, everyone, and welcome to Edward S. Redcar's Entertainer Chat. I'm your host, Edward S. Redcar, and today I have the extreme pleasure of talking with Oliver Dominquez. He's an actor, a stand-up comedian, all sorts of things, which we'll be getting into today, the time that we spend with him. So, Oliver, how are you today? And welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me here, and it's a genuine pleasure. And I'm very good, thank you. How are you yourself?
Oh, I'm doing fine now. Well, I'm doing fine now that I'm talking with you. Now my my day's a lot brighter now. So yeah, yeah, everyone. I was just before we went on the air here, I was just talking to Oliver about we did an impromptu interview at the Cinema Mall during the Love and Hope Film Festival in Barcelona last week. Unfortunately, that video did not record, some technical difficulties, so um, I invited him on here to the traditional Zoom interview so that we could talk to him even at greater length and find out even more about him than we could in the on the fly impromptu interviews. So yeah, so what up?
But don't worry about that video. In improv, we say leave the moment, it happened, and then do a lot of improv. It's like, well, no, hardly ever you record it, or anybody records it. I mean, in Netflix, you have 3 episodes of what's it called, Middle and Swords, brilliant, but they did thousands of performances. Only the people present at the theater will ever know of. So,
That's
let's
right.
take it as one of those.
That's right. That's right. Th Things happen, and we go on, and we enjoy what we do, whether things work out or they don't work out. Right?
Exactly.
That's the way it goes. Yeah. Yeah. I've got a lot of things to ask you. So many. You're an interesting guy. I looked at your Facebook page and your Instagram page, and it's like you're involved in so many things that you're very interesting, and I just want to let everybody else know just how interesting you are with the questions that I want to ask you. So, what I usually do, my first question, whether my guest is like a musician, an actor, director, writer, producer, whatever in the entertainment industry, I like to know how they first became interested, in what they do with what they're doing today. So I noticed on your Facebook page, your Facebook profile page, that you mentioned that you're originally from Barcelona, Spain. You
Hmm.
presently reside there, and that you studied at the University of South Wales, among several other educational institutions, of which there's a long list, a very, very, very impressive list of institutions that you attended. And so, with all of those institutions that you attended, how did you become interested in acting?
Well, I always liked it, right? And you take part in those school productions, theater, like Christmas, and now and then. But to be honest, growing up, I was a sports person. I was a sportsman. I did athletics for, well, track and field, you call it, right?
Yeah.
For over a decade. I was a sprinter. So that took up most of my, let's say, afternoons or a lot of my free time when I was studying. Uh, so when I injured in the knee, in my knee, kind of quit around 1920. And after that, I started doing theater. I was still at uni. I studied journalism and then a degree we have here that is basically film studies that goes kind of hand in hand with theater and acting. But I started in local theater groups around that time and started in English. Actually, I thought, let's improve English as well. I mean, you know, it's also a good way. And first important theater I was in was over a decade ago. Uh, My Midsummer's Night Dream, Shakespeare, classic.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah.
and I was Francis Flute. I mean, if you're acquainted with the play, you have kind of the main plot is the lovers, and it's a bit heavier in terms of the drama, and then you have the mechanicals that go like this one scene with the lovers, one scene with the mechanicals, and that's like a comic relief. Now, I was one of the mechanicals. Francis Flute is probably the second with like more lines in it, and it's an ideal role really because you get a lot of stage times and none of the heavy lifting in terms of the plot and drama. And for a starter, for a beginner, it was brilliant because you had all the adrenaline, super fun, people bursting, and then the the main plot kind of kick in, and it was a great way to start really. And
Yeah.
I felt had a great time. We had a few shows, all of them brilliant. People
Uh-huh.
loved it,
Uh-huh.
and yeah, then it went on from there, and I started doing more short plays,
Mm-hmm.
short movies,
Mm-hmm.
taking part small roles in a few movies, was in TV shows. And then in between, I lived a year and a half in the UK, doing a master's in drama in the University of South Wales, as you mentioned, in Cardiff. And yeah, I did a lot of acting. Sorry, there. I took part in the Open Air Festival, which is a real thing. That's a very big, important thing. Very cool festival, and uh, you know, had like some 20 performances throughout the summer
Wow.
with the theatre group Everyman, it's the
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
organizer of the festival.
Uh-huh. That's one thing that I've always wanted to do is to Shakespeare. I'm a big fan of Shakespeare, like some of the most notables, like King Lear, and of course, probably everybody's favorite, Hamlet. I absolutely love that. The to be or
Mhm.
not to be monologue there. I absolutely fell in love with that. And so, in any of your Shakespeare performances, were any of those like outdoors? Because I know a lot of times Shakespeare is performed, they have like Shakespeare in the park where the performers will put shows on. Were you ever involved in anything that was like outdoor and like an outdoor setting for Shakespeare?
Yeah, actually, I took part. Well, that was I had only a minor ensemble role, but in a Romeo and Juliet production, also the one open festival in the UK. It was very cool because we did a lot of physicality, very much like physical theater itself, like lifting up people when they were being poisoned and running up and down the stage. Some
Uh-huh.
fighting because, of course, at the beginning, the Capulets and Montagues were like rivals. Um, I did a lot of that, and then I mean, I really had loads of fun. Met a
Uh-huh.
lot of incredible people.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so like besides your Shakespeare and your studies of the theater in at the university, did you ever do anything in addition to that? Say like local community theater, like volunteer theater, like in the communities or the towns that you lived in? Was there anything like that?
Yeah, I did smaller plays in the UK, also with people from my class and things like that. It was super fun. And well, here in Barcelona, in Spanish and Catalan, which is like our regional language,
Uh-huh.
well, I've been in a few groups performing, also improv, as I mentioned earlier. Um, I do a lot of improv in English and Spanish and Catalan. A lot of the shows are like kind of volunteer and local on like some local festivities. Yeah, they are a blast because most of them are events where people go to have fun, and that creates on its own already a great atmosphere. And people are willing to
Oh yeah,
laugh and to like go, and
yeah.
all
So
those things are great with improv.
Yeah. So besides that, like all of that theater, Shakespeare theater, uh, like when you were a child growing up and you were like in school, were you ever involved in any like school plays when you were going to school, like when you were a small child?
Yeah, there were a few, and it was a funny thing. I still don't know why, or I don't remember. But most uh, years, like classes, would at some point put on kind of Christmas Carol show, right? Traditional from here. We didn't do that. I can't remember why. Probably we voted or something, and I forgot about it. But we did some other play, and I remember I was a character. I was like some sort of ex-con, and my first line ever in theater was, "I'm going to prison." I was like, okay, the start, yeah. And then I had to go back to prison, and then that character would go out and get back and
Yeah, yeah.
have an important part in the play.
I
But generally, I remember one very fondly where I was four people and the narrator. So a lot of clothes changing, and at
oh
some
yeah.
point towards the last one, I went out. Still have changed. Like where I can't make the audience wait any longer. So I went there like, right, makeup here, like, dripping a bit because I was sweaty.
Right,
Like,
right, right.
right, yeah, it
Yeah.
was me. In case you didn't know, yeah, right. And then I went on narrating,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
it was super fun, yeah.
yeah, yeah. It's
And most of the audience are like parents, people you know,
oh,
friends.
okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No,
They're
I
not really
yeah,
demanding.
I always found that great. Like when you're performing on stage and you have your family and your parents there. I don't know about how you feel about it, but it always seems to give you like an extra boost, like extra energy when you know you're performing like for your family out there. It's like, boy, I better do a really good job at this. I've got to really be good because I've got my mother and my father or like aunts and uncles or whatever there. So it kind of gives you that extra boost to do an extra good job on it, doesn't it?
Yeah, you don't want to put too much pressure on yourself, but it's exactly what you said. I
Oh yeah,
remember,
yeah, yeah.
I remember doing athletics actually. That uh, it was an extra like bit of extra adrenaline boost when
Right,
people came to see me, and
right,
that kind
right.
of probably that's why also I really loved theater so much from the beginning because I kind of compared it to a competition. It's like that adrenaline, that that rise. You felt very much alive that way. And when people came to see it, it happened exactly the same way. Like you want to really impress them. I remember, however, growing up, you take it differently and then you use it, I think, better as well. And for example, last improv show my parents came to see, I essentially throughout the show played, I think it might have been three female characters, and
Oh,
all of them were, at least to some extent, impersonations of aspects of my mother. And she knew, of course, she knew. We
right,
had a
right,
laugh later having dinner, and people, the audience like burst. So it was brilliant. I
right.
had a hell of a time. I was kind of Nefertiti in Egypt, but played as a like nowadays mother, and
Okay,
taking things from her as a mother,
okay.
and she knew, and I was like, um, yeah, all our joke, and everyone laughed. So it's probably wouldn't have done that if my parents weren't
Right,
at the theater that
right.
day.
Yeah, yeah. I know that reminds me of a musical that I was in years ago. The musical South Pacific took place in World War II in the Pacific Islands out there, and so I played the character of Luther Billis. He was one of the Navy CB military men there. So there was this one part of the musical where in the musical we put in like we put on like a variety show for the soldiers in the show, and so I knew my parents were coming to that show, but I did not tell them what I was going to be doing or how I was going to be dressed. I wanted to surprise them. So in that one part of the musical, I had to wear a blonde wig, I had to wear a grass skirt, I had to have a battleship painted on my chest, and I had to wear a coconut bra. And I didn't tell my parents about anything. And so they came and their friends came and they had the best time. I says, that's why I kept this all a secret. I didn't want you to know ahead of time. I wanted to surprise you. And boy, were they surprised. They says, oh, they says, my God, they says, we never laughed so hard in our lives. I says, yeah. I says, that's why I didn't want to tell you. So yeah, I know what you mean about getting that extra rush, you know, from people that you know out in the audience. So
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, yeah, and speaking about getting a rush from the audience, like you mentioned a little while ago that you do improv, and so I've noticed a lot of post photos of yours that you perform with the Barcelona improv group, the Watch This Space improv group, in which you're a co-host of that show, and also the Better Late Que Nunca Impro. Am I pronouncing that right?
Yeah, that's
Okay,
great.
okay. So being involved in all these groups, I just wondered, like how many performers in in each of those groups, and how long have you been a member of each of those groups?
Well, Barcelona, the big Barcelona Improv group, is not. I'm not a member of the main cast. They have a main cast of performers. But it's they have a school. I started doing classes with them almost 6 years ago now, and a lot of the events. I mean, I've taken part, of course, in all of my class shows, but I've taken part in a lot of events they do, and a lot of events where people from the community are invited to. So I took part in a lot of performances. I know most of the people there quite well. Pre-pandemic, I had a few groups from that community. They kind of dissolved, and during the pandemic, some of the people, some of the members of those groups had children. So that kind of stopped well, our performances, because I had a few performances lined up before the pandemic, and they all at first they were postponed, and later on they were cancelled. Uh, but yeah, that's the story with Rick, and I'm still doing classes with them, and taking events and hosting.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
That's
So
that's it's great fun.
yeah. So though,
Uh, Sorry,
no, go ahead. Go ahead.
I know I was gonna talk about What's the Space, one of the main English improv events in Barcelona. And yeah, through those improv groups I had, usually the event is a first few games that the audience can take part in during the first half, and some group performances in the second. So I've gone along to perform with groups like numerous times, and then I was a member of the organizing committee of What's the Space of the event itself. So that's when I started hosting and co-hosting a good number of events too, and helping on, I don't know, social media and stuff. And I haven't hosted in a while because they move venues, and sometimes I cannot get there because it's a bit further from me now. But it's still a great event, super cool. And it brings kind of the community all together, and it's like a very nice vibe usually.
Yeah.
And for Better Late Que Nunca, it was a nice project we had, because it's bilingual improv. So we perform Spanish and English, sometimes switching, sometimes both languages at once, sometimes one, I don't know, for example, one word of each. So it's a great challenge for us.
Oh
The audience
yes.
usually loves it. and you feel like you're squeezing your brain.
Yeah. So then, say in any of those improv performances, it's not say like entirely in Spanish, but it like alternates between Spanish and another language, like throughout the whole night, like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, exactly. It's usually Spanish and English in Better Late Que Nunca. Then I've taken part in all the Spanish improv events and performed with a few groups in Spanish too. But Better Late Que Nunca was well, we haven't performed in a while because we're all doing different projects as well in parallel. But these like a very cool, very special project in in that
Mhm.
regard. Also, through that we performed in few like company events and Christmas dinners when the classic event when
Right,
uh,
right,
people
right.
from headquarters come over into town and it's great to have performance in both English and Spanish. People loved it.
Uh,
Uh,
yeah, yeah.
and it's a great message to send the people from different parts of the world coexisting,
Right.
also
Yeah.
cultures, also languages. I think altogether it was like a great vibe, a great event, very, very special project, as I said.
Mhm. Yeah, that must be quite a challenge to like constantly have to switch like between languages. Yeah, I can see where that might be like a bit exhausting if you have to perform in a language other than your native language. It, it it must be draining on your brain to switch to another language and to convey the same meaning as if that was your native language, right?
Exactly. The thing with about theater, as I explained, but also with improv, is that I started in English, so I kind of followed the process in the opposite way as most people. Because if you try in another language, it's usually because you've done it in your mother tongue. So I started in English. I was fluent already, no problem, fun, brilliant from the beginning. But when when I started in Spanish, I was overwhelmed. I was like, I have so many more options now. It's like, geez, like whoa, it's almost overwhelming, and it was I have a nice feeling to like so many more options. This is brilliant.
Right. You,
Yeah, it was a nice feeling as well. I had a great time from the beginning. It
yeah,
was nice also because I knew the international improv community, but through performing in Spanish, of course, you know a
yeah,
lot of people who literally cannot speak any English at all, but they
yeah,
great performers in Spanish. So it
yeah.
opens you to different circles
Oh,
too.
yeah. Yeah, so probably it opened you up to all these ideas when you could speak the other language, right? It's like you said, you had so many more options to choose from. So probably, like they say, the sky was the limit, right? You had all these ideas rushing into your head. Oh, I'd like to try this, or I'd like to try that, right? Uh,
Exactly. I mean, you come up with uh, different scenes, different scenarios, different
yeah,
formats, even to put on like proper 30, 40, 50-minute shows.
right, right, right.
And
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, when
yeah,
you do that, it's a great feeling.
yeah. I remember one improv workshop that I took years ago. Uh, it was the director of it split us up into groups, maybe groups of three or four, and so we had to take our turn doing like an improv sketch. So,
Mhm.
like if there are three or four of you, he would like have you like sit on the floor and pretend that you were on like a desert island, deserted island. So, for example, he'd say to the four of us, "Okay," he says, "the four of you are marooned on a desert island. Go." And then we'd have to take that idea from just the little that the bit that he gave us, the bit of information, and we had to make up a whole entire sketch out of it. And to me, that was fun. I mean, it's like you were saying, the sky's the limit. Your imagination just goes wild. There's like you were saying, there's so many possibilities. And yeah, I love improv. I really do love improv. And I don't know about you, but I found out that like improv really is like really an effective tool. Like if you're on stage and something goes wrong, somebody misses their line, and you don't exactly go from here to there. It's like one time I remember someone in our on stage in our scene, they said the correct line to me, but it was like 3 pages ahead of the script. So we stood around, and it's like I was a small child at the time, and like a play, like in when I was really really young, and it's like we're all standing around saying, "Oh my God, what do we do now?" But somehow we thought in our brain of where we were in the script, and we worked our way to where that other person said their line. So then we were all right. But I don't know about you, but I find that to be a rush. I mean, I find that like great passion, to make things up right on the spot, impromptu.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, right behind what you said about like it gives you tools as a performer, as an actor. And you mentioned theater, and the benefit in theater are obvious because you're exposed, you're out there, you have an audience,
Right?
and
Yeah, right.
you have to like carry out the show the best you can,
Yeah,
whatever
right. Yeah.
happens. But even in movie, of course, you can edit it, you can have another take, you can do whatever you want, but uh, it allows you to play more, it gives you more confidence,
Yes.
helps you let go of control.
Yes.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant for any kind of show performance. And
Yeah.
for a movie, basically, I don't know. I've met a good number of directors that essentially um, just prefer your option as your kind of improvise or mildly improvise or partly improvise option than actually what you did the first day, probably when you stuck to the script. And that's great because I mean, it gives you, it's not, of course, improvising completely. And once you have the essence of your character, you understand the personality, what you want to portray, and then you use that, it can give so much more so much more to a character, so many more angles, so much more color, to put it in a way.
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh, wow.
and for example, I think I mentioned this to you, but back in Barcelona. Uh, well, I say back in Barcelona. I'm still in Barcelona, but back
Yeah.
when you were in Barcelona,
When I was there, right? When I was there, right?
exactly. That I did a short movie this summer, and I was playing an abusive father, but it was like a bit odd because it was abusive for no reason, and it was all like kind of imposed, and I improvised a scene when my kid in the movie I was listening to the mother, my wife in the movie, and myself arguing, and we had like an idea, like what we had to do, not really a tight script, which was great, but then we improvised with the actors, very talented as well. Um, that I had some sort of child trauma when I was abused myself and bullied in school. So much, like only had that. It was like a minute, and it
Mhm.
gave so much more color. And I've watched the whole piece, and it gives so much more sense to the character and to the movie itself, and the way I treat my kids. So and kudos to the director as well for being open to that, because of course it wasn't his first idea,
Yeah. Yeah.
but as a creation, as a collective creation, it was so much better. And I wouldn't have been able to do anything of that sort of without some improv training, of
All
course.
right. Yeah. Yeah. That's great when they give you like unlimited range to explore like your character, like you were saying, it gives you a chance to become more familiar with your character. And like, yeah, like especially like on stage when you do a play like night after night, whether it's for a 1 week or a 2 week run, it's like every night of the performance, I might be saying like the same lines and maybe making the same movements and motions, but it seems like every night I'm learning something different about my character. So it's like no 2 nights are the same. It's like, yeah, I don't know how you feel about it, but every performance is like brand new, right?
Exactly. Remember one of my first plays that was with this actor. He was in a few Hollywood movies as well in minor roles, like Cloud Atlas, for example. It's called Victor Sule. Um, yeah, I've seen it, but maybe don't know the name. Well, he said that every performance you have, you do, it gives you an extra notch as an actor, and also to develop the character more and more. So,
Yes,
if anything, you as an actor, you can be annoyed you don't get enough chances to know more and more about your characters to develop it more and more. It's like I don't know. In sports, for example, I remember a basketball coach here in Europe who was quite famous. He said, "I can develop my team a lot, but I cannot have enough time to explore all of the possibilities I have, all of the also possibilities, chances, options, the personalities of my players give me, and it's a bit the same as you cannot have enough time to develop the full complexity of a human being as an actor. That's
right.
fascinating. At the same time, you think like, I don't know what I could get. To be honest,
Yeah, yeah.
literally,
Well,
literally, no one knows.
right. Well, yeah, no one knows unless you start to explore all those different options that are available to you, and you might not even be aware of all those options until you start exploring all the different
Exactly.
possibilities. Yeah, yeah.
And
So,
so I'm sure there's always options we don't see, and
oh
maybe
yeah,
they're not as good, maybe they're better. I don't know. But
yeah,
with more time, probably we would always be exploring and learning new things about our
right.
characters and about the plays we are in, the shows, anything.
Uh-huh.
And that's great because you're always learning.
Right, right, right. And yeah, it all goes back to the improv. Like we've been talking about your involvement in those three improv groups. So you were saying that like in each of those three improv groups, there's like regular, constant, I mean permanent members, and then there are those that participate like on occasion, I mean, like once in a while, like yourself, that's the way all three of those operate?
No, better late que nunca. I'm a founding member, proud to say that, and I've been to each of the shows. But with big, for example, as I said, as essentially a student in their school, and you can take part in events and do stuff. They have scratch nights to put on shows, to try out new things, which is brilliant. And then with Watch This Space, yeah, I kind of joined in, and on and off, I've been doing things with them for many, many years. It was more like what you said here. But yeah, I mean, I help out organizing occasionally, now not as much, but uh, the Watch the Space as an event
Mhm.
existed long before I joined, and probably if I ever for good drop out of it, will exist probably long after I'm gone.
Oh, well, yeah, it's like improv is so fascinating that you'll probably always belong to it because I know like myself, I can never get enough of improv. There's something always something new that you're not aware of, and you learn new things all the time. So it's never like an ending learning process. It doesn't come to an end. It just keeps going on and on and on. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. Like I said when I first started the show here, your interview, I says you're a very fascinating man here. I've learned so many different things about you through your Facebook, Instagram, social media, and so I also noticed that you have posts where you model for MG
Mhm.
merch, and correct me if I'm not pronouncing this right. Nicholas uh, By or Bu? Is it?
We,
Oh,
yeah, I've
oh,
done
Bui? Okay, okay,
it's French, I think. Yeah, I did a
okay,
video.
Bui.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
okay. I knew I was going to mess that up, but I thought I'd give it a try anyway.
close enough, close enough. It works.
So, yeah, that fascinated me with modeling for those two different institutions there. So, in addition to your acting and your improv, how did you become interested in modeling?
Well, I guess it's joined naturally. Um, Not really. I mean, it wasn't really an interest I had, but in particular, but it was more like, well, naturally, like you are offered some ads, or sometimes you see casting, like, oh, that's a nice brand, and then you sort of go along for the audition, but this is more like a casting, really. It's not really, you don't really do much there, but it's more like, well, you go, expressions. Sometimes they need you to be funny. Sometimes they need you to just, pose there, and they get you. You just go along. It's fun. It's always fun. I did a very nice photo shoot with second-hand app here called Wallapop. I don't know if it exists outside Spain, but it's very important. I think in Southern Europe at least. Um, we were booked for 3 hours, and in an hour we had like over 1,000 photos they liked, and we were
Wow,
done. It was brilliant.
that's
I'm just there smiling on a couch eating popcorn. Simple as that.
well, at least they gave you something to eat while you were working, right?
Exactly, exactly. And I'm laying down afterwards. We love naps in Spain. A good
Yeah,
siesta.
yeah, oh,
So,
that's right. Siesta. Oh, yeah, yeah,
so
yeah.
I got paid for it. So brilliant.
Good, good. So, I mean, really, modeling is has a lot of connections with like acting because you have to use your imagination maybe to get into the character of the like the fashions that you're modeling, right?
Yeah, exactly. And you just need to be able to follow instructions on the go, even more than in a movie. No, because you have less time to kind of assimilate things and try to change things. Because then, when you are between takes in a movie, there's always, uh, at least a couple of minutes sometimes or whatever. And they change, they have to redo some makeup or lights, or they want to change angles, shots, whatever.
Right.
In a photo shoot, it's like, right now you are seeing something and you smile, boom. Now that, and that agility is brilliant. I've always had fun doing modeling. Now you are looking at the horizon and like deep, profound, like thinking. You know, you take it even if sometimes it's a bit of a parody, but they make you look good. So that's brilliant.
Well, that's their job to make you look good.
Exactly.
That's that's their whole reason for being there. Yeah, yeah. So you were mentioning that there was like a thousand photos for one of those projects you were on. So is that the normal amount of photos, like for one photo shoot that you've been involved in, like at least 1,000 for like one photo shoot?
It depends. For that one, it was very easy for them to take as many shots as possible because I was barely moving. Then I did one in the Pyrenees for sports clothing brands. That was trickier. It was super fun, but it was trickier. And I think they took a few less, but I'd say a good few hundred most of the cases, definitely.
Okay, okay. And so, what's say what would be the normal amount of time for one for a photo shoot? 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours?
Depends on what they want, really. Yeah, I guess the one that we were booked for 3 hours and it was just about 1 hour. Again, it had the advantage that I didn't really have to move. When there's
Okay.
some movement involved, or you have to change scenes or move through places, that's more time consuming.
Oh,
But I'm assuming as well that the one that ended up being 1 hour, if we were booked for three, usually takes longer. So I
right.
can say that generally, the time you are really taking photos or posing in photos is very little. Um, but again, it takes up more time if you're changing clothes, if you're moving, if
Oh,
you're
yeah,
any transport, anything. For example,
yeah.
the one in the Pyrenees, I don't think I was posing for more than an hour, to be honest, either. But it was almost all day. We were about 5 in Barcelona, drove up there. Some other models were also shooting, and I had to leave around, I think it was 3, 4 in the afternoon. So a couple hours here. I was here at 6. Some of the guys were still shooting, but I'd say the actual amount of time you are um, posing on the actual photo shoot is, yeah, maybe it's not much more than an hour in my experience. It depends on what they want to do, of course, but is there the things that surround that really take up time? It's probably
Right.
similar to movies because I suppose some takes you can do a one taker, or maybe two, but then changing the shot, the composition, and all of that is what
Uh-huh,
really
uh-huh,
takes up more time.
uh-huh.
And it's probably right that way. It has to. It's not criticism or anything,
Right, right.
but it's natural.
Right. Well, yeah, it just depends from project to project. So yeah, like a lot
Exactly.
of things, no two things are ever the same depending on the conditions or what they want to visualize and things like that. So yeah,
Indeed.
it's interesting that you make that like a connection like with filming and your modeling. I noticed that you had a post in April 2022 that you mentioned being in a short film. And so I was wondering if you could maybe talk a bit about what the name of the film was, what it was about, and what your role in it was.
Well, it hasn't come out yet. I can tell you the name. It's Anzatakan. It's a Catalan for we're being attacked. Um, and yeah, we start at a restaurant and you see people just dropping like flies. Either we're being shot or like with goons. And
Uh-huh.
then it's about finding out what's going on, protecting ourselves, and it's a bit apocalyptic and also heavily critic towards the society and certain aspects of it.
Hmm.
But it's an interesting project. I
Uh-huh.
really like the idea. And I have a minor role though, and there's a lot of actors there because, of course, we start again at the bar or restaurant.
Uh-huh.
There's a lot of us,
Yeah.
but
Well,
it was fun. It was a long day shooting though.
yeah, yeah. Well, like they say, there's no small or minor roles. There's only like small actors. I mean, every role is important, whether it's a big
Yeah.
role or if it's a short role. So that movie you were saying that it's like a pop apocalyptic. Is it more or less bordering maybe on science fiction, or is it like more reality than science fiction, or is it like a mixture of the two?
I'd say a mixture. I'd say it's somewhere between. We're not in a fantasy world, or we're not in the future, we're not in a
Okay.
spaceship, but there's some elements that seem quite far-fetched. nowadays, or that far-fetched for us to think about, at least
Right,
now,
right.
as things stand now in this world. So I'd say that it's somewhere in between. But
Yeah,
is that the premise, as well, not the premise, the let's say the places and the situations we start in are very much realistic.
uh-huh, uh-huh. Well, I think that like a lot of times, say science fiction movies or like television programs that are science fiction, a lot of times they're sort of like precursors of what is going to happen like in the future. Like a long time ago, like in the 1960s, was the really popular science fiction program, Star Trek.
Yeah.
And back then, they had devices that were like electronic that they wrote on, and those are our tablets. Uh, the crew on the spaceship back then they call them communicators. Today today we have cell phones, and yeah, I think a lot of times science fiction is like reality that hasn't happened yet. I don't know how you think about it, but that's the way I've always thought. It's what's in the future. It might seem far-fetched, but it's pretty darn close to what's going to happen. So I don't know what your take is on that. Do
I
you have
think there's a lot of inspiration there. I agree. I agree to
Yeah.
a certain extent that I hope what happens in this movie doesn't happen.
Oh, okay. Oh,
I
okay.
can tell you this much.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
it is I agree. I agree. There's either yeah, inspiration or I don't know, but there's a lot of um things in common. May not literally, but for example, you saw Terminator in the 80s and 90s, the
Yeah.
machine that take up everything, and now you see IA is gonna take over a lot of our world, a lot of companies, jobs, and everything.
All right.
Uh, of course, probably there's not gonna be a robot dishing out bullets at will, but yeah, I mean that it's true that certain aspects it shows where reality goes.
Right. Right.
Fabric about
Yeah.
the space odyssey. I mean, we are going to space a lot slower. It's not 2001,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
that's a natural way to expand humanity, and it seems it's going to be
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
foreseeable future.
like, yeah, well, when I see like science fiction movies or programs, I'm only concentrating on the good things that could happen from that in the future. Like you were saying, like in your movie, that apocalyptic movie, that you would want to see what happens at that movie actually become reality. So, yeah, I think I'm more focused like on the good possibilities from a movie than on the bad possibilities. So hopefully the
Yeah,
bad won't become a reality, and the good parts of it will become a reality.
hopefully, I
Hopefully.
agree.
Yeah,
Couldn't agree more.
yeah. So yeah, like in addition to like your modeling and your acting and your stand-up improv and everything, I also noticed in your social media that you're also involved like in music videos, and so you post about performing in a Silvio BT music video. So in addition to that video, have you performed in any other music videos besides that?
Well, I know Silvio, get on with him, and we're good friends. He lives now in the Canary Islands. He used to live here, but I was in a few of his music videos. Then I was in a music video by Marisa, whom you met in the
Oh,
festival.
yes.
That's how we met. I was there being very ill. I had like a stomach bug or something. I didn't sleep the night before. I was just trying to do my best when I was on set and shooting. And then when some other people were, and I was sort of having a break. I just laid down on the bench at the park and slept. That's how ill I was.
Oh,
But
yeah.
it was I have fond memories of that day. I met like the director and the crew were brilliant, and get on with them.
Yes,
Met
yeah,
nice people that day,
yeah.
and
Well,
of course I met with Sylvia and the crew. They also
uh-huh,
get on really well.
uh-huh. Well, like they say, whether on stage or on film or whatever, it's like the show must go on, right? You have to just put your mind in a mindset where it's like I am the character, I am not me. I do not feel anything that I'm feeling. I'm a different person now that I'm on either on stage or on film. So yeah, it's like you don't exist, but the character you're playing is existing. So you don't feel any of the bad things that you're feeling, right? If you're sick, it's like, well, that's another person. That's not me right now, right?
Exactly. And it worked. I mean, I really felt better. Now you wonder, well, I could do that 24/7, but probably at some point the
Well,
illness would kick in.
yeah, I
Yeah,
don't know. I don't know if you could do it 24/7. Maybe for seven, maybe for 7 of the 24. I don't know if you could do it all week and all day for 7 days straight.
exactly.
But yeah, no, yeah, there's a limit to how much you can do, but for the time that you have to do it, it works for 7 or 8 hours or whatever. But
Exactly.
yeah, I found that interesting. You were saying that one of the other music projects you were involved with was from Marisa Marti, and yes, I met her. Well, probably exactly a year ago, and it was my first time at the Love and Hope Film Festival in Barcelona. Just a year ago, I met her and Deborah, Rodrigo, Darwin, Stephen, and everybody with the staff, and yeah, and so when did you meet her? Was that like a few years ago when you did that music video with her?
It might have been April, yeah, but April 2022 probably. It's not 2 years yet.
Okay.
It's gonna be. Uh, then that summer, was a jury member of the festival for the first time, and I met Darwin,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
and I repeated this year.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I was just going to mention that you were one of the judges, the jury members in the 11 Hope Film Festival this year, along with so many others, including uh, uh, let's see. Uh, well, he goes by the Instagram name Gucci Sachi, but his name is Ozu. He's from
Mhm.
New York City, so I've gotten to know him along with the rest of you. So yeah, it's absolutely a great bunch of people. I couldn't ask to know a better group of people. That things are like or I mean the organization is like off the charts. Things get done when they need to, when they have to be, and schedules and screenings for the film festival. I mean, it's such an intricate how could I put it, an intricate dance of technicality, right, with the schedules and the screenings, and it's it
I
it's
agree.
just amazing.
Couldn't agree
Yeah,
more. Great
just
organization by Darwin and the
yeah.
others. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And not only that, but it's like the steady stream of emails of information that's disseminated like to all of us filmmakers. Make sure that we get things on time, like BCPs and our photos and all the other technical information. And yeah, just a marvelous organization. So yeah.
Mm.
I also noticed that let's see, there was another place. I hope I'm pronouncing this right. Tinta Roja BCN. Am I pronouncing that right?
Yeah, Tinta Roja,
Roja.
yeah.
Okay.
Red pink, that was the Spanish for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tinta. Yeah. And so you also perform stand-up comedy there, and that also features like comedy, stand-up comedy, live music. So yeah, how did you first become interested in stand-up comedy in addition to everything else that you do?
Well, I like comedy in general. Well, I've performed a lot of times at Tinta, with also improv and a lot of things. But about my interest in stand-up, I don't know. I guess I like comedy, and I wanted to to give it a go. I took a 2 year course, and it was good fun, a great fun. It's a hard discipline though, I must say, because you're very much exposed, but then you have to ideally be yourself. That's how the it goes, at least in the theory, right? Academically. But you cannot play a character, and it is tough because uh, improv helps to give you tools as well, and that's great. But at the end of the day, you're just exposed talking. So if people are not reacting or they're not reacting as you expected, it's quite unforgiving, the feeling you get up there. And but at the same time, it's yeah, I mean, it's very addictive. It's super fun.
And
And
it's like excuse me. It's almost like you bear all, like you bear your soul. I mean, like you were saying, it's like you're totally exposed. It's just like you against all of them. So it's like no matter what happens, you've got to go with it, right? Whatever happens. Like
yeah, it's very much like that. Um, Yeah, the mindset shouldn't be that you are against them, but it's exactly that. You are there, you have to win them over.
right,
Uh,
right, yeah, yeah,
you have
right.
to have a great beginning, then have good sets, and especially a great ending. Found out things that are popular politically or
Oh,
whatever.
right, right, right.
Give them a very good taste to end with,
Uh-huh.
and they leave with great feeling.
Yeah, yeah.
Also, you could have maybe not a rubbish show, but a regular mediocre show, and maybe if you have a great ending, they go like, "All right, that was good," and yeah, that's the magic of it. You
Right.
have to definitely save something big for the big finale.
Oh, yeah, for the like they say, the grand finale, right? The grand
Yeah.
finale. Yeah. So that I mean, stand up, that sounds like it's like even more challenging than improv.
I don't know. It's different. I guess they all have their own challenges. In my experience, I would say it's harder, but I'm sure there's a lot of people who'd say otherwise.
Yeah, yeah.
It just, I guess, it depends what you have to adjust to both or to either,
Right,
and
right.
use the tools you get in the other. Probably help. But I guess it comes naturally that some people find one harder than the other. But I wouldn't really dare to say that is more difficult. Some people might get offended, but for me, it was more challenging
Yeah,
in a
yeah,
different way as well. The mindset also changes.
yeah, yeah.
It's a
Well,
brilliant
y-
discipline.
yeah, well, the reason I mentioned that is because like in improv, it's like you're sort of exposed, but you're playing another character. You're not you, but like with stand up, like you mentioned, it's you. You're not playing like a role. It's just you. So that's why I figured it's probably a lot harder than improv because you have to respond to them uh, with your personality, right? It's like you cannot pretend that you're somebody else talking to them. You have to sort of speak one on one with them, like just you, your person to them. That's why I thought, at the outset that that's more It's well, harder and more of a challenge than improv. You're sort of you're sort of using improvisation, right, in stand up, but it's coming from who you are, right?
Exactly. Yeah, and when the feeling is great, but that happens with improv as well. But when you're feeling good, just feel the audience laughing and enjoying themselves,
Yeah,
uh, then you can improvise from yourself easily. You're more relaxed, you think it's going well, and you get carried away a bit, and then you can play more.
right, right.
But getting to that point from yourself, as you said, is harder. Yeah.
Yeah,
In
yeah.
improv, you can get there probably many times throughout a show.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
And some other times you won't. You don't click one scene, but then you have another one or whatever, or a different character,
Yeah, yeah,
and you just keep playing. And the mindset is just about that.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
in stand up, I guess the more experienced you are, the more able to play you are from the beginning. But of course, at first you're a bit more tense, and then you need to get into that groove to sort of be able to let go a bit of the pressure of the nerves. And it's
So,
not bad to be nervous. Nerves mean you care,
oh
but at the
no,
same time,
oh no.
they stiffen you up big time.
Yeah. Well, I don't think in any type of performing, whether it's stand up or in film or on theater, it's like it's normal to be nervous, I mean, you like they say you have those backstage jitters and butterflies in your stomach and then when you're on, they all go away and it's like, "Oh, wow, I can do this," but it's just that moment before you go on that you have that like tenseness, right? And I I don't
Yeah,
know, I guess that feeds the passion, right? Before you go on, it gives you like that extra energy.
yeah, it doesn't go away with experience. Also,
No,
some
not
people
at
think it
all.
does. No, it just changes. It evolves. It's maybe less of nerves, more of this
Yes,
excitement,
yes,
butterflies. Also because you, in a way, you're more seasoned. You know you're capable of doing this. You've done it before. There's bit of a certain degree of confidence, which is great. But you still have those butterflies in the stomach, as you said. You still have adrenaline. It just doesn't. It's not those nerves that kind of, in a way, can paralyze you eventually. It's more like, well, just yeah, that kind of those butterflies and that kind of adrenaline rush that gets you going. Also at first,
that's
and
right.
that's a brilliant feeling.
That's old.
Is
Yes, it's an awesome feeling. Yeah, yeah, it's like after you get that feeling, it's like you're feeding on it. It's like, the audience is getting into what you're doing. It's like, yeah, give me more, give me more, give me more, right?
and it's just
Yeah,
um,
yeah. And
it,
and
you
if
feel
and
very
if
much
you've
alive
got
with that.
and if you've got them really laughing at the end of your set, it's like you could say, "Yeah, I got them in the palm of my hand." Right? They're eating out of the palm of my hand, right?
Exactly, and when you have that feeling, you have the show. It goes brilliant. Everyone's laughing. You've had like you're drying up there for a some time. After the show, you feel tired. It's the brilliant feeling like, yeah, it went well. You're a bit sleepy. It's like relaxed. All this stuff
Oh
going
yeah.
away. That feeling is priceless.
It is. It is. Yeah, I think it's like the best feeling in the world when you know that you gave it your all, and like they say, you leave everything on the stage. You just put it all out there, and yeah, you just let it go, and I think that's the great part of our craft that we give all of our humanity out there on the stage to people out there to enjoy. Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
I happen to notice something else that you enjoy on all of your social media, and that is something that is outside of your performing career. And I noticed in a July 2021 post on Instagram that you mentioned that you volunteered at the Special Olympics in Athens, Greece, about 10 years ago or so. So I found that fascinating. I don't think I've ever had a guest that has been like affiliated with any Olympic Games. I found that absolutely fascinating. So, um, I just wanted to know what motivated you to become a volunteer, and what type of work did you do as a volunteer at the Olympics?
Well, it wasn't the what would be the Olympics of like mentally disabled people, as they call it, in 2011 in Greece, in Athens. It was the World Games. We were there sometime before for the preparation and during the event. It was brilliant. My interest there started because I have cousins, a little younger than myself, with Down syndrome. So I always felt curious about that kind of mental disease, or not disease, but mm, I mean, like disabilities in a way,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I
like
was interested by that. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
and since I did sports myself for many years and took part in many competitions, uh, I found out through some youth network thing about that event, and of course, knowing how to deal with people with certain disabilities and having a background as a sportsman myself, I was more said as a great fit for that, and so I got called up quite quickly. And one day, and yeah, most of our daily tasks were helping the athletes, translating stuff in the different villas where they were living, also in the venues, help out the press, either translating or taking them to where the press conference was going to take place. Uh, because of course the venues were really were big, were like the stadiums and basketball arenas and everything
Mm.
where the professional teams play
Yeah,
or the
yeah,
national teams. So we needed to cover like all that as any other sports event. But yeah, that was basically our daily sort of tasks.
yeah.
But then
Yeah.
go back and we ate with the different delegations. It was
Uh-huh.
brilliant. We were at the opening ceremony, the closing ceremony. We walked through like this platform they built uh, in the Olympic Stadium with the athlete. Like we were one of them. It was a great feeling. Being an Olympian, being in the opening ceremony of the Olympic Games, must be such an amazing feeling. I mean, I felt like, oh man, I wish I would have gotten there in a way. With a great feeling, at least to do this and then be like sort of clipped out in the preliminaries, whatever. But just do this and be there for a few days. It would have been like the experience of a lifetime.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah,
Um, but yeah, and it was a very rewarding. It was I'd say one of the best things I've ever done because
oh
then
yeah.
they really love you in no time, always hugging you, showing you their medals, super proud, thanking you for everything.
Yeah, yeah,
It was
yeah,
something else.
yeah. And you're now was it you were saying it was a family member. Was that like a cousin of yours that has Down
Yeah, yeah,
syndrome?
yeah. I got a younger cousin, yeah, a bit
Okay.
younger.
Okay. Okay. So then they must have been like interested in sports all along to be entered into that competition.
He wasn't there, but he did some sports and he was in Special Olympics in Catalonia, where
Oh,
the
okay.
stadium in Barcelona,
Okay.
competing and everything, but he didn't qualify or anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah, he did sports, of course, and I went with him to some sporting events. And
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, that's nice. Yeah. So it was sort of like an experience that you both can remember of a nice time, a nice time that you spent together in a
mm,
very special place, which happens to be the original location of the Olympics from centuries ago. Yeah. Yeah,
beautiful,
yeah,
yeah,
that
yeah,
must have been an amazing experience. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I know.
amazing
I
city.
remember watching the televised Olympics. Let's see, the Special Olympics. Did that take place like a month or two after the Olympics?
No, but that would be the Paralympics, which is like physical disability mostly, or like Yeah, so blindness, kind of that kind of thing.
Yeah,
These
yeah.
would be more like Down syndrome, maybe autistic people, that kind of thing.
Oh, okay, okay.
And it goes separately from the normal Olympics, or let's say normal, like
Yeah,
professional Olympics.
yes, yeah. Yeah,
But yeah, Special Olympics actually is an organization with the origins in the UK, in the UK, sorry, in the US, I think. I think it's from the US, and it's spread through the world, and it was quite beautiful to see. And
it
it was
is.
2011 Athens. I wish I could have been able to go to the next one because it was in LA.
Right? Yeah.
That would have been something. I remember seeing photos on Facebook of some friends I made in Athens. In 2015, for example, Colin Farrell popped up to see people in the Special Olympics, and some other actors, of course. Kobe Bryant was there. May he rest in
Oh,
peace, of course.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. Well, let's see. Did the Olympics, it came to Spain quite a while ago. Let's see, where was it now? Wasn't it in Spain quite a while ago?
1992 in Barcelona. Yeah,
Barcelona, yes, yes, yeah.
I
Now,
live like
yeah, now,
near the Olympic Stadium.
yeah. So, one of the let's see, one of the venues they used was that the stadium next to the Catalonia Plaza Hotel, that stadium?
It's not next to it, but it's close. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So that was one of the venues for the Olympics. Yeah. I've always been past there, like driven by it or walked by it. But the next time I'm in Barcelona, I got to make it a point to go in that stadium there. I think they give tours, don't they, of the stadium?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
The
okay.
Olympic Stadium is quite a tourist attraction. Yeah, and
Yeah.
now that Barcelona, the worldwide famous football team, is playing there because they're having some renovations in the stadium even more.
Yes. Yeah. 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 Yeah, that's I got to make it a point. I visited. Of course, it was on the outside at the Sagrada de Familia. I visited there, and but I've only been on the outside. So one of my times in Barcelona, I got to make it a point to go on a tour of the De Familia and the stadium there in Barcelona. So, but I mean, there's so much to do and see in Barcelona. It's impossible to do everything in like the 2 weeks that we're there for the festival, right?
No, because also you're like busy in the festival. I mean, ideally, yeah, probably in a week you could do a lot of things, but you go for a festival, that's gonna take up most of the
Oh
time. So
yeah, oh definitely,
I
yeah,
met a lot of people from the US in the festival too, and they were like, "Well, we were watching the movies we wanted to watch, and in between we want to do some
right,
sightseeing." And
yeah. I
that's a
know,
nice way to approach it, rather.
yeah, yeah. I know. Like some friends of mine, they even like in between the screenings, they managed to go down to the beach, the beach there in Barcelona.
It was
So
quite close, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
that's clever.
Right? And like, in fact, last year, that was my first year in Barcelona. A few of us went to like a late night dinner at one of the restaurants that overlooked the ocean. That was great. Great scenery, great food. You couldn't ask for. But Barcelona is my second home.
I'm glad
It's
to
my
hear.
it's my second home. I tell everybody that when I go there. I said it's my second home now. The more I go there, the more I'm familiar. I can walk down this street or that street. I know where I'm going now. I don't get lost. But no, it's a great and special place. Really great and special place.
Awesome, man.
And
You're welcome
you're
anytime.
yeah, and you're a great and special guy for accepting my invitation to the show. And I want to thank you so much, Oliver, for graciously accepting my invitation. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you today.
Pleasure's all mine. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it doing it twice, to be honest, because we did it once on the fly in Barcelona. So that was
Yeah, well, I really am glad that we had a chance to do it this time because, like I says, you're a very interesting man, and I learned so much about you and wanted to know more and ask you questions about things that I saw about you. Wanted to know more, and I know everybody else out there is pleased to know more about you too. So yeah, so once again, thank you for being on my show. And everyone, my name is Edward S. Redcar. I'm the host of Edward S. Redcar's Entertainer Chat. Today, I have had the extreme pleasure of speaking with Oliver Dominquez, actor, stand-up comedian, model, among many other things. Also, one of the judges on the jury for the Love and Hope Film Festival in Barcelona, Spain. So until next time, when I'll have another guest, don't forget to watch my YouTube channel for when I upload this interview with Oliver to my YouTube channel. And stay tuned for announcements about that on both Instagram and Facebook. Subscribe to my channel, like and comment on any of the interview videos that I have on my whole list of videos on my YouTube channel. And until next time, have a good day, and we'll see you soon.